Hi, Shaylee here, and this video is, I wonder if I would call it Spirit of Matter. I would call it Spirit of Matter Kundalini series, because it is to do with philosophy, with cosmology, and it's actually a requested video by Exalted Malefic on Twitter, which I think is a genius name, Exalted Malefic. Just the name it's a topic for a video, like what do you do when your Malefic is exalted? And Exalted Malefic asks what happens to Martian energies, like Mars energies, when we practice Tao and when we practice Tantra. So this question is basically about the combination of Taoism and Tantra and how it may be a bit of a remediation for Scorpionic Mars or for Martian energies. And so a little bit of a disclaimer before I break this down and begin to answer. I was not trained to either be Tantrika, like a Tantra teacher, nor was I trained to be, a Tao teacher or Shu Dao practitioner or any of the martial arts practitioner. So this is not me attempting to reply from any qualifications or being an authority figure on the topic. But more my own experience with Daoist philosophy. And when I say Daoist philosophy, I mean Lau Zi. I don't know too much beyond that, like other than reading the Tao Te Ching, being involved with reading about the medicines, and holding a cognitive dissonance, and holding that Tao state myself, and of course my experience with tantric sexuality, entering the void through sexuality. There are so many things that to me are alike. So this is a big disclaimer. People who do practice this, either Tantra or Shu Dao or martial arts themselves, might see this video as either redundant or even violating of their philosophy. So that's a disclaimer. Don't take this as any sort of, authoritative statement. But I did find that when I try to practice Shu Dao, which is basically the stillness form of Dao practice, and I do not say the word meditation on purpose. I've learned about Shu Dao from Yang, who teaches the martial arts, and he teaches Qigong, and he teaches Shu Dao, and he teaches about the philosophies of martial arts and TCM. So he has got an amazing channel in the right of his own. I noticed that the minute I learned to breathe correctly, like breathe to the area of Dantian, which is basically to around the sex chakra, because the Dantian is a big area, just to the lower back, the lower abdomen, straightening the back and lifting the head a bit, and then you breathe in, concentrating on making your lower back straight. That would literally mean, oh gosh, I did not expect to get up. That will literally mean, just like in belly dance, you strengthen your back a little bit so that the lower back is straight. And just like you do when you begin belly dancing, we always begin by straightening our back and making sure that our body is aligned, and only then taking that in-breath and lifting the head up. I noticed that when I'm doing that, and when I'm breathing correctly to the Dantian, and when I'm lifting, which literally says, the energy goes to Dantian and the spirit goes upwards. It looks like the third eye. So I naturally, by my own yoga, tantra praxis, concentrated on both the lower area and breathing there, straightening the back and noticing also this area above and see what's happening there. Boom, I had a tantric experience. So what's a tantric experience? It's basically, I was joking about it on Twitter. I was like, oh my gosh, this is so tantric, like breathing into Dantian is so tantric. How could anybody fight like that? You basically feel a little bit of a rise of the sexual energy, Kundalini energy, and it's pleasurable. And I think that I think, I don't know why Hayang does not mention that, but I don't know if it is so, maybe culturally it's not so accepted to talk about it publicly, I don't know. But I genuinely felt that my ability to cultivate sensual pleasure and feel natural with sexual energy rising, natural with pleasure, and or a little bit of an orgasmicness that comes up, allowed me to reach the states that the practice of Xu Dao aims for, which is being more one with the void, one with nature, and autonomous in my body, and I will expand on that. It allowed me to reach this faster and more naturally than if I didn't have tantric practice. And I genuinely realized, if we talk about Martian energies, I genuinely realized that opening ourselves to pleasure allows us to cross through the gate. I will not attempt to say the name of that gate in Chinese because that would be butchering the concept that I've just recently learned, and I don't remember how to say it in Chinese. Something with gong or oh no, I don't know. But it is sort of a gate that you cross through in your experience, and you are able to feel one with the universe and autonomous. So that's where Tantra came in handy. And when I talk about how to do Tantra correctly, then with Tantra you have the breaths, you have the tightening up the perineum muscles while you're breathing in, or the spoon breathing when you do, and you sort of breathing in, and then you're supposed to let out the air with a voice, moaning, because there is movement, and there is breathing, and then there is voicing. This is sex chakra, throat chakra, right? Voicing is a throat chakra, but it's also the heart and the lungs, and we want to bring the energy from the sexual chakras to the heart and the lungs and out. I guess to say emptying the heart when you talk about martial arts is really liquidifying the concept, because in martial arts there's letting air in and then closing and letting on the air out, which is very beautiful for healing, but you really need to be careful when you do that, because it is a body-mind art, and whatever you have in your heart is going to rise up to be cleansed, that you're literally healing the heart, and this thing is intense. I've had experiences of healing my heart when practicing this, but only when I practice the correct form of breathing into the Dantian did I have this very easy, very smooth tantric experience, orgasmic experience, and this is a very tender experience. Don't expect. It's a good thing to talk about orgasms, because understanding that orgasmic feelings is a flow of energy in your body that is also arousing can help people be in touch with feeling orgasmic, basically, and understand what an orgasm really is before they intensify it, or before they get deeper into letting go, which I like. I like the relaxed arousal approach better. It's kind of the woo way of Tantra, because it's no effort, and you're really letting go into your body, which is what makes it so close to Xu Dao, and what makes it so close to Daoism. You really concentrate on letting go, and then letting go of the concentration of letting go, and then orgasmic waves come. So it's the combination of having an intent and letting go of that intent. Just like before you enter Xu Dao, you have your focus on one point, and then you slowly let go of the focus, let go of the focus, let go of the focus. Close your eyes, and then your consciousness is turned inwards, but in a relaxed form. Because if we take a focus and then we close our eyes and turn it inward, we just did something. This is Mars, right? A sharp focus, yang focus, and then inward. It's like boom. No, we're cutting into ourselves. well, we need to actually relax the gaze, and then bring the consciousness inward. This is what unifying our focus is. I know this is a very big topic. I know I'm speaking in very big words because I'm describing real experiences that I've had that are like, normally people practice Shu Dao, I guess, for quite some months before they even reach the state of having the experience that I had on the first time I tried to breathe into the Danqian. So naturally, what may be considered as secrets or a secret that you only get while practicing is something that I try to describe here in simple words, and it's not easy. But I cannot talk about Scorpio and Mars without getting this deep. So I know it's hard to follow. I guess I would need further questions to simplify that. So I would need you to comment down below with your questions. And don't be shy to say, oh, I did not get any of this. Please explain it clearer, and let me know what you did not get so I can get more specific. Because I think it's important. I think it will really help you to understand also what I'm trying to do here with Spirit of Matter in general, especially the cosmology. You know, the chart I analyzed, the interviews, you hear interviews, but the cosmology, the science of the stars, holding the place of fate and fortune, and the inner alchemy, all of these things, it's not something you cannot understand. You can understand without actually practicing the practice of holding either Zen-like states or holding paradoxes. And I've talked about planets and sexuality before. I talked about Tantric Mars. And maybe I jumped too quick because Mars alone is hot and dry. It's fast. It's young. It's not Tantric. It's hot and dry and fast and not Tantric. It's root chakra sexuality that when unbalanced is aggressive. Like, I'm tempted if I should say it or not. I guess I will. I saw, well, I don't want to call anyone on the spot because it's like been a really old interview. But it's been out there, and one of the sentences I've heard Austin Coppock said when he was really young about Mars was Mars alone would rape his mom. And that was like, oh my gosh, I heard that, and I think it was after I recorded the sexuality in the planets, and I was like, oh my gosh, she's so right. I've been too quick to talk about Tantric Mars without talking about Mars alone, and acknowledging and giving the respect that this energy alone is not very highly sexually evolved in any way, shape, or form. So that Mars alone is actually sexually abrasive is something that we need to remember and honor. And literally Austin had a very good point that it's not that people were afraid of their sexuality and we need to blame people for not being comfy with their sexualities. Is that there is a component in this fire that's actually scary, that's actually potent, that's actually destructive, that can actually rape his mom. That exists, and we need to honor that existence before we come to alchemize anything. Before we come to talk about Tantric Mars, we need to talk about Mars, we need to talk about root chakra aggression, we need to talk about what happens when a sexuality driven by survivalism. So that exists. The very root of our sexuality is the root chakra, not the sex chakra. Sex chakra is already water chakra. It's dense, it's sharp, it's fast, it has a direction, it is abrasive. There are other beautiful, amazing tantric experiences to our sexuality that when alchemizing this energy bring us into elevation and spirit spirit of matter, literally owned. But it does require alchemy. And it's humbling how much alchemy is required to experience a beautiful sexual experience, in essence. And when I say that, I mean that so literally. For example, in Tantra, the correct form of penetration, and it doesn't matter if it's penetration into a vagina, into an anus, into the throat even. The correct form is that which is penetrated vacuums in that which penetrates, be it the finger or the toy or the penis or whatnot. And that happens following arousal of the body and letting go. This is the relaxed arousal, this letting go, and waiting kind of at the doorway to be vacuumed in. And this is how you know that this is correct form of penetration. Not following that correct form of penetration, even if you're not practicing Tantra. I'm on the air condition here talking about Mars and it's too hot. So not following this correct form of penetration results in wounding, results in pain in penetration, results in higher because of the stress, the physical stress and the emotional stress, higher sensitivity to infections, to fungi, and of course can be a factor that impairs fertility. And I'm being very cautious with the statements because babies come to the world through rape too, but you know, and it's not the time to talk about the two paths of bringing babies to the world. But there are actually implications of not practicing penetration correctly. For example, as a holistic health practitioner, if somebody comes to me and say, well, I have, pains in penetration or itching in the area or even menstrual difficulties or whatnot, then one of the things that I very carefully ask is penetration practice the correct form? Because if not, then that can be another thing that we want to take a look at when we come to heal those issues. So that is so humbling. That is so humbling because we're never taught that. And not only that we're not taught that, there are sexologists and gynecologists who literally prescribe people lubrication that sometimes desensitizes the area. And I'm not against lubrications. I'm very much all for helping and not being shy about using technology and using toys and using lubrication and using whatever is needed to make the sexual experience better. But this should not be used instead of actually practicing correct form of penetration. Like you shouldn't smooth it in. There is a passage to go because it is a gate to something, and that gate to pleasure and that gate to orgasmic pleasure and that gate to union is important philosophically, but it's also important physically, because if you ignore the problem, you put a loop. If you put a loop to avoid something, to avoid pain, and not just as an additional thing that makes it easier, you just make it. It's like putting a plaster on a wound, but not actually tending to the wound. And it can only hold so much before the problem gets worse. So you won't have pain in penetration, but then you would have developing cysts. That does not mean that cysts are only because you didn't practice penetration the correct form. It's the physical stuff that caused that. It's not what I'm saying. My view of matter and spirit is more complex than some of my peers in both conventional and holistic medicine. But it is a factor that can contribute to the causation of a bigger problem. And this is root chakra. So root chakra is the survival. It's a basic needs. It's the sense of belonging and security in the world. That's the very base. So if the base is shaken, you can imagine that the entire body is going to be subject to all health and mental issues because of that. So that's just the root. And I think if we are touching on root chakra and touching on correct form of penetration, anal pleasures is so important to all genders. And there is a taboo around the topic of anal pleasures in general. This literally is healing this chakra, because any sort of orgasmic sensation around this area basically helps to release memories, emotions, stuff stuck there, and it's needed. And so many men, for example, cisgender men, deny themselves this pleasure because they are afraid to be considered gay if they experience anal pleasures, which I think is so destructive to men's health, to men's sexual health, to men's health in general, to the man's ability to experience pleasure that is a part of their bodies. Being denied of something is a part of their bodies, and it's not healthy to see that area is shameful, or that pleasure is shameful. And of course, experiencing vulnerability, or cultivating vulnerability, or cultivating the yin that nourishes yang, even with themselves, in self-pleasure, not just having sex with another person or having another person penetrate them, but owning the two sensations of penetrating and being penetrated, of holding space for themselves and receiving that sort of pleasure. So yeah, those things. And when we begin to talk about alchemizing Mars, we begin to first talk about, we want to cool down Mars, so we want to spread the energy and we want to relax the focus. Because Mars is very condensed, hot, fast, and focused. It's sharp, which has great advantage in certain contexts. Like something can be, sharp and to the point and cutting, and sometimes we want the knife to work quickly, so it won't be painful. It won't be more painful than it needs to be. But when we talk about sexuality, we don't want, even if people do edge play, they definitely want to be able to alchemize them so that they can actually control that and not have, knife play uncontrolled. Did I say knife play uncontrolled? Yes, I did. After talking about anal pleasures. Never. Cut connection between the two. Cut connection. So we are talking about letting go of the gaze, letting go of the focus, and kind of spreading the air around. In Tantra it is done, and I think in martial arts there's some, I think in Qigong there is an emphasis of, a part of that embryonic breathing is breathing into the lower abdomen while contracting the anus and the perineum. And I don't know exactly when and how it's practiced in martial arts, but it is practiced in some arts, in some forms of Qigong, that I know for sure. And in Tantra as well, concentrating on contracting the perineum and breathing inwards kind of brings the energy upwards and brings the sexual energy and spreads it around the body, which, yes, is sometimes more difficult for people who have penises and are in the hormonal system of having more testosterone than oxytocin-based hormonal system. It is more difficult for them, and we need to stay humble about that, because we don't want to get into the point of deciding that if somebody is having a penis, then that's their body and that's their sexuality and that's their struggle, and somebody's having a vagina, that's not. But we also want to acknowledge that there are differences, and it's more difficult for a person whose energy is very much focused in the root chakra to bring it upward and to do something that, to make something very dense less dense. It's harder for them to bring the energy upwards. That's just so. But they also have a lot of focus, right? The flip side is the focus that they have, that they're able to do it, because they're able to turn the focus inward and relax it, and they're very much able to reach orgasmic states and enlightenment and full body orgasm just as much as women do. It's just going to be harder for them, but they're also going to have, not just women, people with wombs, but they also have what it takes to face this challenge. And so the practice of spreading the energy around is basically alchemizing Mars. It's alchemizing Mars and basically relaxing our martial essence to the point where it harmonizes with the universe and with what's best for us and what's healthy for us, and to the point where it's beneficial. Because if we let go of what's no longer serves us, which is a Mars thing, you know, the knife, letting go, severing, cutting that which no longer serves. If we do that, then we are left with economicity, with what does serve us, and then we reach Tantric Mars. So that was a whole conversation I left out of my sexuality and the planets. And I was just, boom, Tantric Mars. It becomes Venusian. It wants to communicate. It initiates communication and initiate connection. It's vacuumed in and there is well received. And I did not mention Mars alone. And that was important for me to correct in this video, because we do need to acknowledge that Mars alone is not Tantric. In essence, it does need alchemy to go there. But when it does, there's a saying in Tantra that the way we penetrate the body of another is the way we penetrate the world in essence. And I've talked about it in Tantric Mars. So the way we initiate in the world is very much supported by the practice of Tantra and the practice of basically economizing the energy and letting go of what no longer serves us. It's using Mars the correct way. It's using Mars to economize. When I say economize, I say getting rid of the density that's no longer serving. It's relaxing the Mars, which is also the correct form for holding penetration for longer. Tip for men, and you know, I'm humbled when I talk about tip for men for sexuality, because not tip for men, tip for people with penises. Please excuse me, I'm learning a new skill of speaking correctly about our bodies and our genders and so on. So please bear with me as I'm practicing that. So it humbles me to speak about the sexual experiences of people with penises, because I don't have any, and I'm very much cisgender. That means that my sex correlates with my gender experience, mostly so. But I did not go through any hormonal change or or surgeries to change my either sexual organs or hormones that control me. So I never had to face what people who are more testosterone based feel like. And so this is knowledge that I deliver from what I've studied and not from a personal experience, because I cannot experience even if I did have experiences about being in the body of a man, which I did, and that might be for another video, I do not experience on the day-to-day experience of alchemizing a penis energy. That being said, when you do practice relaxed arousal and bringing the energy around the body and letting go and relaxing the Mars, then you can hold penetration longer in the correct form. Because it's not about, there's this myth, I don't know if it's a myth or not, about men, people with penises thinking of all kinds of things that turn them off so that they can play with their focus into arousal, not arousal, arousal, not arousal, so that they can actually be there with their partners. This is really wrong to do energetically. This is, especially if the partner is energetically sensitive, you can actually see that. See visions or see stuff that they're not happy. And it's not happy for the people who practice it as well. The more difficult, I guess, form, because it takes a lot of practice, would be to practice relaxed arousal and then to immerse oneself in the sensual experience and in the pleasure, and spread the energy around the body so that it is not so condensed. And then when something is condensed, it is faster, right? So we're going to have faster ejaculation, faster orgasm, but also faster ejaculation. and when something is less condensed, then it takes longer. And then there is a different, more full form of satisfaction, and then also the ability to hold ejaculation. I understand that it's like holding, tightening the perineum muscles and breathing upwards to hold it, like to not ejaculate when having an orgasm. I don't know what it's like. Which I think it should also be discussed, because men are encouraged not to ejaculate and women are encouraged to squirt. And here I say men and women because it is very generic. Like, yeah, it's like people who are considered women are encouraged to squirt, and people who are considered men are encouraged not to ejaculate. Now, in essence, I get that, because people who are more Mars prone want to relax it, and people who are less Mars prone need to release energy, because squirting is basically releasing fixed water, and there are a lot of emotions that are being released with that. My say about this topic is, let's say I practice calisthenics, a form of intense sport. If I'm heading to a day of, a week of 8 hours a day practice, I want to eat probably 4 or 5 eggs, if I'm not vegan or vegetarian, before practice, because I'm going to need that. I'm going to burn that. The cholesterol is not going to be an issue when I do practice it, when I do need that in my body. But if I'm going to have like an hour practice a day, I'd seriously doubt how healthy it is for me to eat more than 1-2 eggs. So same with not ejaculating. Because holding this energy, and it is life energy, in your body and spreading it around, if you are going to have an 8-hour a day meditation session or Xiu Dao session and experience ecstatic experiences and work with this energy in a shamanic way, and really be with this energy, then yeah, I guess not ejaculating for, I don't know, a month before that can be very constructive. But if you're just working your day-to-day life, maybe having like an hour of meditation a day tops and some beautiful sexual play with your partner, not ejaculating, and you don't have like issues with sperm count, like you're not, for some men who have lower sperm count, they actually do want to practice lack of ejaculation to basically increase sperm count. I don't know if it's correct scientifically, but that's what I've heard that people would advise men when they try to get, to impregnate someone. But if you don't have this issue, there shouldn't be a reason you wouldn't want to ejaculate every now and then. Like, it shouldn't be, how long can I hold without ejaculating? You're not gonna die. No. It's when we exchange energy, when we empty, just like in martial arts, we empty the heart to get new energy in. So emptying, so ejaculating and kind of feeling this void, this depth, this letting go into, the mind shuts down, and then you rest, and then you're being reinvigorated. It's not a bad thing for you. This is not bad for your life energy. This is not harmful. It's not something you should be avoiding if you have a penis, if you feel pressured not to ejaculate. No, it's a good thing to be able to control that. It's a good thing to be able to manage your energy and to enjoy fuller and richer orgasms. That's beautiful, but it shouldn't be pressure. Because the whole point of not ejaculating is relaxing the pressure and alchemizing something that's going to make your life more rich and full and relaxed and energized, rather than condensing the energy. So when you pressure yourself around, not pressuring yourself is just like for people with vaginas, then pressuring yourself to let go and to have orgasmic experience is actually the opposite of what an orgasmic experience is, because it's setting intention and then letting go, and then you merge with it. So for squirting, it's a good thing if you feel like you want to pee, to do that peeing act, because it releases energy, it releases stuff. That being said, one thing I've learned from a sex positive teacher is that there is literally no connection between squirting, ejaculating, wetness, hardness, like erection, orgasm, and pleasure. I will not give you the insights from sexual violence on why this is true, but I'll just leave you with that. Think about it. Think about it in your personal experience. Is squirting making orgasm hard, like more intense for you, or is it just something that can happen regardless of orgasm for you? Is not ejaculating actually prolong your orgasm, or is it something else that needs to happen there aside of that for the orgasm to be prolonged? So just knowing that and understanding that it's not a peeing competition. It's just something that if you feel the need to pee during sexual arousal, let yourself go, allow that to flow out of your body, and have the compatible sheets for that. That's really helpful. But if you don't, there's nothing wrong. It doesn't mean that you're not squirting or feeling the need to squirt is anything harmful or anything bad for you or anything not sexually evolved enough. It's not a skill you need to master. It's not necessarily something that's going to help your orgasms be greater. And here we have to come to the TMI so people can have validating experiences. I've had great orgasms without squirting. I've had great orgasms with squirting. I've had okay experiences with squirting that were not even too much orgasmic. Yeah, it's just like, and also there are places, I think, around the ovulation for people who go through menstruation, squirting is more richer and fuller, and then it gets less squirtish as you approach menstruation, your moon days. That's at least what I've heard. I think that's, like, in my experience, it tends to be true. So yeah, that's something, that's another tantric thing. And notice how much we talk about when we talk about Alchemizing Mars, how many things we pass through on the way, and they're all very related. They seem like, oh, I digress. I don't digress. I actually don't. And I'd like to talk about the art of war now, because the art of making love, we had there was a funny talk around the word fuck and fucking and sexuality, or the Hebrew word zayin and lezayan, which is literally like to make war with someone, because zayin is weapon. So to fuck someone is literally to make war with someone. In Hebrew, the army culture troubles, and the alchemy around that. Because what is war in essence? And here we come to martial arts. Because in martial arts, the way I see it when I think about Lau Zi, and Lau Zi said we make enemies. We create our enemies. It's probably been an inspiration to Jungian shadow work and the understanding that of archetypes, and we want to alchemize ourselves and we want to face our shadow, so that the enemy within is won and conquered, and so there is no enemy without. And that can also be applied to internal and external martial art styles. Why would we do that internally or externally? Like, do we want to focus on the external stuff to change what's within, or do we want to change what's within to change what's without? And it can be seen as hermetic, as above so below, as within so without, and it can be abused too, because if we'll view the world in a solipsistic view and we say everybody's a reflection of me, check if that feels happy in your body. Because if it doesn't, then you probably need to add another paradigm and hold the dissonance, which I'll get to. Yes, this video is getting long. Oh, wow. I was like, oh, let's just talk about Tantra and answer one question. So like, no, it's really long. It's Tantric long. And you'll bear with me if you want it. So, the way I see the martial essence is, when alchemized, is literally to alchemize the enemy, in the sense of, because me and the enemy are one. What I want to do is to take the dense energy that is at the root cause of the person being my enemy at all, and to take both the dense energy within me and the dense energy around me, that's the mixed style, and to spread it around, and I do these infinite thingies. If you check martial arts, there's always an infinity thing. There's always that infinity thingy. I don't know how to do it with my hand just yet. I'm just a beginner practitioner. You use the infinity symbol both to gain momentum, but you also use it to spread the energy around. This is how you gain control of the momentum and not lose the momentum. And so, if you take belly dance, which is both a war dance and a fertility dance, there is no literature about it being war dance. I should remind my belly dancer teacher about her. She wrote basically an essay about the history of belly dance, and she mentioned that this is also a war dance. So I'm looking forward to see that, because I did not find it in the literature. So it's considered a fertility dance. And in belly dance, what we do, let's say I practice the infinity, my legs are stable, and it's my it's my hips that are moving. It's my hara point that is moving. And it's moving in infinities. Yeah, I separate the muscle. But in martial arts, I take the infinity form from my legs. So it's my legs doing the infinity form while the hara point stays put. And then I want to make sure that, the danchan is, both forms, I want to make sure that the danchan is, the lower spine is straight. And the body, like the hara point, is in correct form, so that the center of gravity is kept. While in belly dance, I move the center of gravity around with the very, hara point, and create very sensual transmutation of energy. In the martial arts, I basically hold the danchan put, while moving with the legs and creating the infinity with the legs. You kind of have this shifting, like quick, slow, even with your hands, quick, slow, and then, emptying the heart. And that infinity is basically creating and keeping a dynamic balance. Of course, not all belly dance movements, as well as not all martial arts movements, are going to be around infinity. But a lot of it is going to be around it, and especially warming up for Tai Chi, for martial arts, actually looks like belly dancing, like the way they do these things. And I actually do that, which is literally a belly dance move. It's an infinity move. It's balancing, and you always take the energy back, down. After every practice, you take the energy back to the earth. So this tells me, by just observing the motion, is that I spread the energy, I spread, I create energetic balance, I balance the yin and the yang, I relax the focus, I alchemize the martial energies, I alchemize Mars, and then I bring all the excess energy back to the ground. So that's literally alchemizing the system that's called me and my enemy, spreading the energy around, and then all excess energy is down. And when you think politically, there's a saying that wars are the continuation of negotiations in other means, that is war. But what I want to, in a war, when I enter a war, I want to return my enemy back to the negotiation table. Think about the first versus the Second World War. First World War, Germany ended the war without any soldier. The myth goes, I don't know what exactly happened, but without any foreign soldier on Germany's land. And so there was a lot of dispute. Should Germany have even stopped fighting, because they saw themselves as the winners of the war, because they stopped the fight without any foreign soldier on Germany's land. The Second World War, Germany was conquered completely conquered. And then what did the United States do? When the United States broke the splendid isolation and decided to end the war, they just kind of did it all the way in to come all the way out. They supported Germany financially while maintaining a hold of, not developing the German army again, so that Germany could stand still and be a partner in negotiations. They wanted to bring Germany to the negotiations table. They did not want to destroy Germany. They did not want to erase Germany off the map. They did not want to put the enemy down, because the energy you put out, if you put so much dense energy, it's going to change. They're going to try to fight back. They're going to try to be even more extreme. And a part of how Nazi Germany was even created were the years, were around 300 years, that there were wars on the land of Germany, or what it was not Germany back then, but the war on the land that we now know as Germany, that were different tribes, different countries, different empires fighting on the land of Germany. They're not fighting Germany, they're literally fighting on the land of Germany. They're fighting themselves on the land of Germany, and that means that the German people suffered everything you would suffer in a war, on and off for 300 years, and that really tarnishes the psyche, so that the eventual rise of idealizing the old Germany, going back in the days of the German tribes, going back to the symbolism of the German tribes, going back to the motherland and reviving the motherland and the folk stories, that myth was very much accentuated by the many years that the concept Germany was wrapped. No, Germany, but I think it was Prussia back then, but the very concept of the people and the individuation of these peoples was tarnished again and again and again. And we can look around in politics and see for ourselves what is going on. I don't think I need to mention that. It's also not the point of this channel. But what we need to remember is that we don't want to destroy our enemy, because we are one. We want to spread the energy around so we can go back to the negotiation table. What is negotiation? Negotiation is Venus, negotiation is Mercury. We want to alchemize the martial thing that severs ties, that creates boundaries, that expresses aggression, that is not afraid to be aggressive, to move the enemy from the center of their gravity and spread the energy around so that they can bring the excess energy down to the ground. That's a correct form of using Martian energy in general in our lives. And that's a correct form of alchemizing. How do we alchemize? When we are in motion, we create the infinity, whether by belly dance or by martial arts. When we are in stillness, we relax the focus, and then we take the energy in, and then we begin in stillness to experience that dynamic balance of feeling both the lower and the upper regions, and then slowly relaxing the focus, and we feel one with the universe, and we feel an autonomy at the same time. We hold that. Now this is getting a really long video, and my best friend hasn't seen me the whole day, so he wants to have some quality time with me. I will talk more about the consciousness of holding Zen consciousness, of Shu Dao. Wow, it's getting dark. Of those experiences in a future video, because there's so much more to talk about. Holding a cognitive dissonance, and the very tantric experience of that, and the pleasure of that, which I began this video with. There's so much more to talk about. I did not imagine it would be this long. But yeah, it's getting dark, and I'll see you in my next video. I know this has been a lot of content and very condensed content too, so don't be shy. Ask questions, ask for clarifications. I might add some tricks and practices to my next videos from my own personal experience. And thank you, Exalted Malefic, for your beautiful questions. And I hope I began to sort of answer how the energies of Mars are purified while honoring Mars and not ignoring the problem or not acknowledging the problem or not accepting Mars in our lives, but while also acknowledging alchemy and the purification and the remediation and the celebration of scorpionic energies, which I did not touch too deeply upon. But yeah, if you like this content, subscribe, share with people who will like it. Do actually do the like button, because it helps the algorithm, and we want to spread the knowledge to people. I talk about stuff that I don't hear people talk about on the web, and I actively chose to give up monetization for my YouTube channel so that I can continue to talk about these things and to use not Patreon but OnlyFans in the future for paid content. So that I can continue bringing you content that discusses the things that you are ashamed to ask anyone, including yourselves, the things that you are ashamed to Google, but it's actually very constructive to your soul growth. My gosh, this is getting dark. So you can find me on Twitter, you can find me on Instagram, you can find me on YouTube and Facebook, and I'll see you in my next Spirit of Matter video. Bye-bye!